We finally reached Primal Dialga, level 48, 700 HP, one boss between Team Fish Power and saving the entire timeline. Dialga roared. Roar of Time hit the whole room, and that was it. We were done. I ran the numbers afterward. For Marlin the Magikarp to survive a single Roar of Time, he'd need to be over level 90. So the run wasn't just hard, it was starting to seem impossible. Even if we did win, Dory the Feebas would be erased from existence. So yeah, the endgame was going great. 4 dungeons and 3 boss fights. That is all that stood in the way between Team Fish Power and victory. Dory the Feebas and Marlin the Magikarp had conquered Groudon, vanquished the electrifying tribe at Amp Plains, and returned from a seemingly inevitable twisted future. Back in the present with Grovyle by their side, the mission was clear. Retrieve the Time Gears, find the hidden land, take the Rainbow Stone Chip to Temporal Tower, and defeat Primal Dialga. No longer were they wet noodles. They were now grizzled, hard, stale noodles. And while that tastes much worse, it's much better for a fight. The team with Grovyle departed from their new home base at Sharpedo Bluffs and set off to Tree Shroud Forest to find the first Time Gear. As a side note, the team say they don't want to be seen as fugitives, but they are in the most evil lair looking hideout possible. The good news: we had Grovyle to help carry our team. The bad news is the late game starts scaling like a personal vendetta. During the mid-game, the fish had barely wiped the dungeons, with most wipes coming to monster houses. But Tree Shroud Forest upped the ante. It was 20 floors, by far the largest dungeon, meaning if we didn't find at least 2 apples during the run, we would faint to hunger. Tree Shroud Forest had some stupidly annoying Pokemon. While Feebas had abused confusion in the previous boss fight with Spiritomb, the powerful status was being turned against us. Enemies also had broken moves like Imprison, which prevented the Pokemon hit from doing anything. But by far the biggest hurdles were the Alakazam. The late game dungeons had Pokemon with huge stats, but Alakazam is built different. Alakazam's Stab Psybeam could OHKO Marlin, and sometimes OHKO Dory. It had been so long since the team had to level up, but suddenly the fish started to feel under-leveled again. Finally, thanks to a couple lucky apples and max elixirs, the team cleared Tree Shroud Forest and got to the Time Gear. When they arrived, they saw that time was still not moving, even though the Time Gear was in place. This meant Dialga was becoming unstable, and it would be a race against the clock to find the Temporal Tower and stop its crumbling. The team split up, with Grovyle searching for the Time Gears, while Team Fish Power searched for the hidden land. After a long hot tub soak with an old man, they discovered the secret to finding the hidden land. The team was going back to where it all started. Hidden in a beachside cave is the secret to finding the hidden land. Team Fish Power went to explore the cave, with Chatot joining them.
Now, Chatot was a terrible ally. He's strong, but I swear something's different with his AI than other partner Pokemon.
There were times where an enemy would be right next to him and he wouldn't attack it, which now that I think about it is kind of in character for Chatot. Briant Cave was another major step up in difficulty. Almost all Pokemon in Briant Cave were water or ice type and resisted Dory's strongest moves, Water Pulse and Blizzard. Luckily, the same was true for the enemies. This led to longer battles and a grind through Briant Cave. Some of the Pokemon here also have an ability that causes rain. For the first time in the run, Dory is able to activate her Swift Swim ability, which boosts her speed in the rain. Unfortunately, it led to an instant wipe the only time it activated. After that embarrassing loss, Team Fish Power made it to the top. At the top, they didn't see anybody. That is, until they looked up. The Kabutops gang was all male, so Dory would be able to neutralize the targets fast with Attract. Additionally, the Omnistars would drop with 3 Blizzards. In a one-on-one fight, Dory could easily take the male Kabutops. This was gonna be an easy fight. What, dead?
We'd cruised past all bosses in the mid part of the game, But the Kabutops gang was presenting more of a challenge than I thought.
The gang had 3 Pokemon, 2 monsters with 120 HP, and a lead Kabutops with 500 HP. That is the same HP as Spiritomb, with 2 extra bosses flanking him. They were all male, but Attract would only work on 1 Pokemon at a time. They also had almost exclusively attacking moves, with Kabutops having a dreaded Giga Drain that was super effective, Slash with high crit chances that would end either fish, and an Aqua Jet that can hit from across a tile. All the weaknesses that we had exploited in the mid-game bosses were gone in this game, but the team could likely beat Kabutops without more grinding. All it would take is a lucky run. The Mudslap slowdown had doomed us from the start of the last match. If we rematched this gang and neutralized Omnistar first, I'm confident we could win. The battle started. The first part of the plan went perfectly, but Marlin started getting low on HP. I instructed Marlin to run away so Dory could finish the fight. The first Omnistar went down, and the second one approached Dory. It used Mudshot, and again Dory had her speed drop. This was the exact same scenario as the first fight. Another wipe was seemingly imminent. Or was it? The fish had survived Briant Cave using brute force, but that didn't sit right with me.
The fish were now getting to the point where I expected them to beat every boss on the first try. Just smashing our heads against bosses and hoping to get lucky wasn't the Team Fish Power way. I didn't want to just grind or win by luck. I wanted Team Fish Power to win their way.
At the end of Briant Cave, we meet a Lapras who flew the group to the Hidden Land. The fish had cleared the first boss and the first 2 dungeons, but 2 more pairs stood in our way. The next boss being an 8-on-2 rematch with Dusknoir and his Sableye gang. Additionally, we had no way of defeating monster houses. If we ran into a monster house with our current build, it would mean game over. I did have a plan, but it would take an enormous amount of time. The team wasn't ready for the Hidden Land, so freshly after arriving on its shores, they turned around and went back to Treasure Town. But they weren't going back to level up. Instead, they did what I would do if the fate of the world was on my shoulders, and went to a bar, Spindus Cafe to be exact. Now I know what you're thinking. You specifically banned drinking at Spindus Cafe when stating the rules. And that is true. We are not going to Spindus Cafe to drink. Instead, we are going to gamble, which is a perfectly acceptable vice for this challenge. Spindus Cafe does not only have a bar, it also has the recycle shop. This shop exchanges items for prize tickets. Once the player receives their ticket, they'll be given the option to redeem it immediately or wait until later. Once it's redeemed, one choice is given of red, blue, or yellow. Wobbuffet will then draw the chosen card corresponding to the color and then tell the player whether they lost, won, or won big. Unlike Ice Beam or Blizzard, the secret weapon that we need to beat Dusknoir cannot be bought at a store or found in a current dungeon. Instead, we can only get it at this point of the game by winning or big winning on a silver prize ticket. The odds of winning are 40%, and the odds of winning big are 5%. This means that 55% of the time, we will exchange our items for nothing. For the sake of the theme, I will be choosing the blue card every time, even though it does nothing to the odds listed. Even when we win 45% of the time, we don't just get to pick our prize. If we just win, there is a 1 in 62 chance that we get the item we need. If we win big, the odds actually get worse to 1 in 82 chance. When combining all of the odds together, we have roughly a 0.071% chance to get the item on each draw for every 6 items we turn in. This means at full odds, I would need to turn in roughly 850 items to get the prize I needed. Luckily, I had grinded items this whole time in preparations for these odds, and had the maximum 200 items in Kanga's store. There is nothing left to do but start gambling. Just like when I went to Vegas, the Why Not slot machine had bled me dry fast. We gathered many rare items and TMs, but not one was the one we needed. I went back searching for more items and tickets, and after nearly 10 hours of non-stop gambling, we got what we came for. After all that grinding, we had finally gotten the TM Substitute.
Now, I bet some of you expected me to be grinding for some overpowered attack, but I assure you, Substitute is the key that Team Fish Power needs to break this game wide open.
This was the final piece of the puzzle in turning Feebas from fluky fish to truly unstoppable force of nature. With our prize in hand, we were ready. The Feebas will enter the last dungeon with the following moves. Please like, subscribe, hype, comment. Wait, those are the wrong moves. The actual moveset is as follows. Tackle for consistent damage. Water Pulse, our strong stab move. Rest, a utility that will keep us healthy for late game dungeons. And Blizzard, the room clearer. We will keep Substitute in storage for now because this next dungeon is long and Rest will make the ascent easier. The first part of the Hidden Land has 15 floors. Not being able to bring food in dungeons really hinders us here. We need Rest to recover any HP ASAP. We can't afford to wait around and cost valuable belly points. Additionally, the enemies here are strong and diverse. Level 30, Manectric, that was just a boss days ago, is now a common enemy. Almost all of the Pokemon here were strong and had high stats that could wipe out our fish. But we had Grovyle, the goat of this run. And as long as we found a couple extra food items, Grovyle could keep us safe. We made it through the first 15 floors with minimal wipes. Now only 8 floors separated us from a Dusknoir grudge match. Before we left for our final push, I was planning on teaching Substitute to Dory to replace Rest. That was the plan. I didn't realize that this Kanga was a save point and I couldn't take items from it. After a quick redo of the first 15 floors, we made it back up to the checkpoint. The final 8 floors were tough. But Substitute was proving its usefulness. It would negate a single enemy for up to 5 turns. It acts as pretty much a getaway free card for even the strongest enemies, and it had plenty of power points, making it pretty spammable. But the real power of Sub and PMD would be shown in the next fight. We broke through to the top of the pyramid and confronted Dusknoir and his gang on top of the Rainbow Stone ship. I started by stepping towards Dusknoir as the Sableye advanced. Dusknoir was the main threat. He was strong and had high hit points, while the Sableye could be defeated in 1 or 2 hits. But we were completely surrounded, and this many Pokemon could easily wipe out any one of the party members. So as the fight started, I stepped forward and used Substitute on Dusknoir, which caused an interesting reaction in the opposing AI. Yep, Substitute not only negated Dusknoir from doing anything, it also makes enemies prioritize attacking him. The only downside is that I cannot damage the sub, but I can damage his minions. The Sableye ripped Dusknoir apart as Team Fish Power whittles down their numbers. The battle was over before it began. Team Fish Power had just annihilated their rival, but it had come at a cost. During the cutscene that followed, Grovyle, like a true anime sensei, sacrificed himself to keep Dusknoir from going back to the past. And even worse, Grovyle had informed Dory that even if they do succeed and stop Primal Dialga, Dory will be erased from existence. No more Grovyle. No more help. Just 2 fish against a Primal Dialga, fighting for a future that only one of them will see. The first 13 floors of Temporal Tower go smoothly. Water Pulse can easily dispatch the Porygon, Lunatone, Solrox, and Bronzors that inhabit this part of the dungeon. But there was a catch. Some of the floors had sunny weather, which would weaken Water Pulse. Luckily, we still had Blizzard and Substitute, but as the game was getting closer to the end, the difficulty spiked. The last 10 floors of Temporal Tower is where the real monsters live. Pseudo-legendaries like Salamence and Metagross were common here, and at high levels. Their high stats constantly posed a threat, and while Salamence was weak to ice, Team Fish Power had no super effective moves for Metagross. Instead of getting in long drawn out battles, our fish opted to use Sub on Metagross and run away. After a couple of wipes, the fish broke through to the top of Temporal Tower. These fish had been through so much. They were ready to face their destiny, to achieve greatness, and to save the world. They stepped forward to confront the beast of time. Primal Dialga was level 48 and boosted a whopping 700 HP. Like previous boss fights, it had a range of moves it could use. Middle Claw was a stab steel move. This was by far the weakest move, and our water fish resisted it. But even with resistance, it still did huge damage. Ancient Power was a familiar, strong special attack that dealt huge damage. It had a low accuracy, so we could hope for a miss, but it also had a chance of boosting every one of Dialga's stats. If this happened, it would be an instant game over. Dragon Claw was another strong stab physical move that was not resisted by either fish. The fish couldn't survive 2 of these hits. Scary Face similarly slowed down its target, which would also lead to an inevitable death. And finally, the worst move of all, Roar of Time. This is one of the strongest moves in the game. It is Stab Dragon and hits the entire room. This move is Primal Dialga's ace, and the move we least want to see. Dialga was strong, but Team Fish Power had faced astronomical odds before. and came out victorious. Dialga roared, and the fight for the future started. That was it. A single roar of time sent us packing. Marlin was incapable of surviving this move. Dory, thanks to the earlier gummies, could barely survive most damage rolls. Doing the calculations, Marlin would need to be higher than level 90 to survive this move. This grinding just wasn't realistic. Team Fish Power slunk back down Temporal Tower and back to Treasure Town. There was no grinding to be done. Team Fish Power couldn't prove their true power if they just grinded to level 100 or used gummy steroids to juice up to beat Dialga. Maybe it was better to just accept the dystopian future. At least Dory will be there to see it.
I was stuck, and I had no idea how to proceed. Then it hit me like a dimensional scream. I glimpsed a way forward.
I had everything I needed to beat Dialga. Feeling motivated again, we raced back up and rematched Dialga. During the trip up Temporal Tower, we reset several times to make sure we got a very specific item on the way up. Finally, we reached the summit again. After doing some reading online, I realized my first mistake. Using Blizzard here will trigger Dialga to counterattack with a move. Since we're out of range, he will almost always use Roar of Time and instantly wipe us. But if we step towards Dialga into our fate, it will cause the Dialga AI to meet us in the middle. We start with a water pulse, which confuses Dialga, and we chase him into the corner. But Dialga breaks free from his confusion, but it's too late for him. We finally unleash a substitute. But Dialga's IQ skill Intimidator makes it fail not once, but twice. Staring down a Primal Dialga, the fish were at low health. Finally, Feebas lands a substitute. I said earlier, attacks cannot hit sub Pokemon, but that isn't true. Multi-tile moves like Water Pulse can still hit the sub. We start unleashing Water Pulses. Magikarp, unfortunately, is useless here and cannot hit the sub Dialga. And we have another problem. After it breaks free, it would get a free move. At this health, any damage done to Dory would mean a wipe, and a single Roar of Time would still end Marlin. I hold my breath and count the turns. Wait, 8 turns? Dialga hadn't broken decoy status? But as we wailed on Dialga in a corner, another problem emerged. I would soon run out of Water Pulse power points, and no other moves could hit the sub. This was where the item came into play. To ensure victory, I had picked up a max elixir on the way up. This sealed Dialga's fate. They did it. Team Fish Power saved the world and the future. The 2-week fish had proved their worth, but it was bittersweet as Dory started to fade from existence. It cost everything, but it was a fate that Dory accepted. As Dory and Marlin gave their tearful farewells, Dory faded into nothingness. But not even fate itself could keep our fishy fail girl down, and days later, Dialga brings Dory back to life. Team Fish Power proved that they couldn't be stopped by anything. As they gazed off Sharpedo Bluff, they had proven everybody wrong. These 2 dumb fish can beat Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time. The end. Or is it? Thanks to everybody who watched this series. It's been so much fun to play. Team Fish Power will return at some point to do the end game, but right now I'm letting Dory and Marlin take a break. In the meantime, please try to support the channel. Think about becoming a member. The next video I'm planning on making is a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Nuzlocke, a real Nuzlocke where Pokemon actually die. So if you're a member, you'll get some cool perks like naming access. Like I said, I'm taking a break from the fish from now, but I'll be back soon. Thanks everybody for watching and supporting this content.